Neither does Sammy Eppel.
For the first time in recent history, I mean, we see what I would call government-sponsored anti-Semitism in a Western country.
And you think that Chavez's government is fostering this environment of anti-Semitism, which is directly affecting the Jewish community, as you've seen it in recent years?
Well, of course, because there's been so many actions. I mean, there's been hundreds of articles, radio programs, television programs, where the subject is treated in many different ways. There is the direct attacks against Jewish people. Then there is the indirect attacks, like saying about Zionist entity. All of a sudden, we are part of a conspiracy to overthrow the government.
And the media outlets attacking Jews and Zionists, those who believe in Israel's right to be a sovereign Jewish state, aren't independent. The reality is that the government now controls all but one television station and the majority of print and online publications.
Through the state-sponsored media, you've actually seen what you called, what your word was, a blueprint for anti-Semitism.
This person called Emilio Silva Chapellin, he published in this government-sponsored website, Aporrea, on January 20th, 2009, how to attack the Jews in Venezuela.
Emilio Silva is a professor at the Bolivarian University in Caracas, a state-run school created by Chavez in 2003.
He says, for example, denounce publicly, with names and last names, the members of Jewish groups present in Venezuela, indicating the companies they own in order to establish a boycott. We have to question the existence of Venezuelan educational institutions for Jews, which means he's actually threatening our schools.
In this blueprint, Silva specifically targets the Tiferet synagogue, which was desecrated 10 days after his article was published. And it's not just the state-controlled media spouting anti-Semitic rhetoric. On Christmas Eve 2005, President Chavez made a veiled reference to Jews, saying, "The descendants of those who crucified Christ, a minority that seized the world's riches, and they have concentrated the riches in a few hands." Then in 2006, during the war between Hezbollah and Israel, Chavez compared the Israelis to the Nazis.
Israel critica mucho a Hitler, nosotros también, pero han hecho algo parecido, qué sé yo, si peor que lo que hacían los nazis.
Most recently, during the 2008-2009 conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, the foreign minister and President Chavez denounced Israel again and instructed Venezuela's Jews to do the same.
Así como repudia el holocausto judío, también se levante desde su conciencia más profunda para repudiar el holocausto palestino que está cometiendo la élite sionista que gobierna Israel.
Ahora, ojalá la comunidad judía venezolana se pronunciara en contra de esta barbarie. Háganlo. Ustedes no rechazan con fuerza, todo acto de persecución. No rechazan los judíos el holocausto. ¿Y qué es lo que estamos viendo? Háganlo. Pónganse la mano en el corazón. Sean justos. Seamos justos.
And in January of last year, President Chavez cut ties with Israel.
La República Bolivariana de Venezuela ha decidido expulsar al embajador de Israel.
What difference does it make whether you do it publicly or you do it diplomatically? However, there's a tremendous impact as far as the sensation. You know, people see that if he does it publicly, this must be, God knows what this guy did. God knows what Israel really is. It must be the biggest Satan in this world.
Every time anything flares up in the Middle East, I mean, we end up being attacked over here.
And though the violence between Israel, Hezbollah, and Hamas has quieted for now, threats against the Venezuelan Jews have not. In February, President Chavez seized this building in downtown Caracas and shut down the businesses which were primarily run by Jews. Today, anti-Semitic graffiti is still visible on the outside walls. We had to go in undercover with our camera because of the neighborhood, and were only there a few minutes before being stopped by Chavez supporters.
How do you go somebody who's been there for 30 years making a living selling it down? Listen, you got to get out of here. It's no longer yours. So you feel that what is yours maybe isn't exactly yours. There's been graffiti here for the last few years that you never had before. Never in my lifetime. And I've been here, as I told you, over 40 years, 42 and a half years in this country. I've never seen that.
And Rabbi Brenner has never had to travel with an armed bodyguard until now. But for the Jewish community, more troubling than the threats, the graffiti, and even the anti-Semitic rhetoric is Chavez's relationship with Iran's president and Holocaust denier Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. In recent years, the two leaders have been working together to set up a number of manufacturing plants throughout the country. They've also created a joint shipping line and a bank. And a significant amount of the $20 billion Iran has invested in South America has gone directly to Venezuela. There is even a direct flight from Caracas to Tehran, inaugurated the day of the first raid on Hebraica.
Does Chavez's government's relationship and his increasingly cozy relationship with Iran, does that worry you as a Jew here in Caracas?
It worries me as a Jew and as a Venezuelan.
Why?
Because I think it is the worst thing that can happen to us as a country and as a Jewish community.
Why?
Because Iran is the biggest enemy of Israel.
The only thing that seems to unite the two countries is their government's hate for the United States and for Israel. So therefore, who ends up in the middle of the sandwich? The Jews. We in Venezuela, I mean, we happen to be that sandwich. And of course, we feel it threatened.
The threats and violence to Venezuelan Jews have outraged the U.S. In February 2009, 16 members of the United States Congress sent a letter to Chavez stating the attack on Tiferet Synagogue was a direct result of the dangerous environment of fear and intimidation against the Jewish community which your government has fostered, and warned him to end the bullying and harassment of the Jewish community. In an effort to placate critics, the Venezuelan government tried to appear that it was taking the violence seriously.
After the attacks at the synagogues, the government placed police vehicles in front of each of the synagogues in the Jewish community to send the message that the government is aware of what's happening and they are here to protect you. Some members of the community say, no, it's used more as a means of intimidation. But a couple of things are really interesting about this. One, there's no police officer here at all. And then if you look at this car, it hasn't been moved in months. You can tell it's just been sitting here. You wonder if it even operates. And if you look through this really dirty window, you see the front end of the car in the driver's seat. And this is supposed to be what the government has put in front of the synagogues to tell the Jewish people that the government is here to protect them?
I have anger. I am angry that this is happening here and that we have to have somebody like Chavez saying and doing these things.